The thick and small mystery solving series is here. Last year we seen a return of horror mystery that honestly I feel like anime has completely lost touch with. By that I mean Dark Gathering. There's nothing more appealing to me than an anime that doesn't hold back, tackling mature themes and horrendous circumstances that the main character has to navigate. Thankfully in the spring 2024 anime season, Mysterious Disappearances is already shaping up to pick up that baton and carry it on. Not only does it have a dark and sinister feel to it, but it really isn't holding back on anything. It's got mature themes, mature characters, high stakes, temptations of power, all tied in with the unknown and the dangers of it existing, and presented in a unique style that really accents its eeriness. Introductions out of the way, this is my first impressions of Mysterious Disappearances, so let's jump right into it. Our series opens up with Sumireko Ogawa, and she's a 27-year-old who is a past novelist who is in a slump currently. She loves mystery novels, she loves urban legends, just anything that can kind of inspire her. Well, she currently works at a bookstore alongside her co-worker, Ren Adoshino. And Ren is really into older women, and sure enough, with Sumireko's figure, he's absolutely obsessed with her, constantly flirting with her. It's even an oddity to the manager because Ren doesn't really talk to anybody else. Well, at some point, this book ends up being left behind in the store. It's not a stock item, they call it a reversed shoplifting, where somebody leaves behind something rather than stealing something. Well, the next day being Sumireko's 28th birthday, the manager decides to give her the book. And this is where we get a sense of what Sumireko herself is struggling with. Being that she's turning 28 that night, she feels like she's getting too old, and additionally, everything that she writes is being rejected. She honestly wishes that she could be younger again because that's back when she was full of inspiration, and yes, a lot of people were acknowledging her writing. Well, she decides to crack open this book and read a certain passage. This passage is about somebody kind of wishing for somebody else to be young again. And sure enough, cut the next day, Sumireko has shrunk in size. She has become a child again. And this is exciting for her. She's running around and she's full of inspiration. She's just constantly writing. Well, after she doesn't show up at work, Ren decides to go check at her apartment where he ends up finding it empty and finds that book. And very quickly, he knows exactly what this book is. See, this book is actually what they call a curiosity. And curiosities are objects from other worlds that somehow ended up in ours. And Ren is actually somebody who finds these curiosities and collects them and sends them back. And of course, Ren knows that this book is very dangerous, so he decides to go find Sumireko. Upon finding her, yes, she has shrunk in size. And additionally, she's also bleeding from her ears, and she's in a lot of pain. So he explains what the curiosities are, and that this book itself is just pretty much a thing full of curses. That depending on which passage in it, which poem within that book you read, it can cause different things, bringing the dead back to life, altering people, and yes, also making somebody young again. But the problem is that since it's a curse, it's not really like she's become young again. It's more that her body has shrunk in size and thus the mass within her is being crushed. That's why she's bleeding. So if she doesn't change back, she's going to end up dying. So after she agrees to read another passage, which allows it to kind of revert itself, she runs off with the book. Yes, Sumireko, despite the fact that she was in danger for her life, like she was going to die, she doesn't want to give up the book because, yes, she's found her inspiration again. She can become a novelist again. So Ren has to chase her down and talk her into giving it back to him by basically explaining that she's his favorite author and that he wants to read her books and that she can do that however she wishes. He likes her the way she is. Well, following this, Ren takes this curiosity, this book, and takes it to this one train station where he is offered a single ticket, specifically a ticket to Yami Station. But he declines it and decides to keep the book. That's when he's confronted by his sister, Oto, who apparently is somebody that has been spirited away to their world, and he's looking for a way, or at least getting enough tickets to be able to send her back. But additionally, Sumireko has changed into a little girl again. Yes, it seems like because she used this book, whenever she just recites the poem, even without the book itself, she can actually become youthful again. So she herself has pretty much become cursed. And Ren has a use for this because Oto says that there is another one of these curiosities possibly at her school. And so he has Sumireko go to this school, change herself into a high schooler so that she can investigate this because it's an all-girls school and he can't go there. And what's going on at the school is that there's students that are not attending classes. They're just suddenly going home. Rumors say that some of the students suddenly have their bodies grow hot as if they're burning, and then they collapse. They start to drool excessively, and any attempts to treat it is not working. The only thing that seems to be effective is them going home, which at that point the symptoms go away. But if they return back to school, the symptoms start to come back again. So they just don't come back to school. So Sumireko and Oto start to kind of investigate the school itself, look for these rumors, and then eventually at some point, the other classmates of Oto's suddenly all start drooling and collapse. And that's pretty much where we cut it. So my thoughts on Mysterious Disappearance. I am loving this show so far. There's like nothing about the... Okay, there's one thing about the show that I don't like, and that's the second episode that it felt like it was a little bit drug out. I think a lot of the interactions with the other students just didn't really feel fulfilling. Now, there is a point to that whole interaction, and that is really Sumireko is desiring these kind of interactions. She is somebody that has grown old, and she's lost her inspiration, so being with all these other students, she's just getting material for her stuff. So I know there's a point to it, but it did feel dragged out. But other than that, this show has been absolutely fantastic. Let's start off with the visuals. I do really like the visuals because it's got a unique design to it. It feels different. It also kind of enhances a lot of the eeriness to the characters that I just absolutely love. I will admit that despite the fact that the first episode looked really good, the second episode felt like it kind of took a little bit of a step back, but it still had these really good points in it with great perspective shots, and again, kind of really enhancing the eeriness of the situation, or at least the scene that they're in. But putting that aside, what I'm loving so much about the show, and it is partially a visual thing, is that this show doesn't really feel like it's holding back. This is a very mature show. So when there's something that happens, it just happens. So yes, Sumireko, and the fact that she's an adult and she does have this whole thing that she's going through with this curse, yes, it kind of shows a lot. But additionally, along with that is just like the visuals, the horrors itself that actually come up. Like when Sumireko suddenly starts to have the insides of her being crushed, you see a lot of that blood just everywhere. It's gushing out of her eyes, her ears, it's just getting smeared everywhere. And I'm hoping that's something that kind of transfers over into the future horrors of the series. But putting that aside, getting into the show itself, I'm really, really loving this show. Now, there is a side of me that does acknowledge that there is quite a bit of this that's constantly going over my head. Yes, there is a lot of actual folk tales and urban legends and whatnot that this series is actually referencing that I don't know about. But even still, it's not as if I'm getting lost. Like with the first situation we have with Sumireko. It is about her reading this one poem that is about this woman that was wanting this other person to become youthful again. And so it was as simple as that it made her youthful again. But yes, there is technically a lot more context within that is more about the urban legends, and there's a lot of statements that are being made that might be lost. Now, it does seem like the anime adaptation, or maybe just the translation that they're doing for the anime adaptation, is cutting a lot of this stuff, because I did cross-reference to the manga, and the manga just seems to have a lot of references. So I think they are kind of diluting a little bit with the anime adaptation, but for me, as somebody that's not like a big, knowledgeable person about urban legends, I think that works for me. But I think if somebody does like that kind of stuff and is knowledgeable in it, it might be an option for you to check out the manga along with this. I'll probably be reading it along with the actual anime adaptation, because there's some of that stuff that I want a little bit of information about that I do find fascinating. But again, I don't think it takes away from the show if you don't get that kind of stuff, because obviously I don't. But again, let's get into that first scenario with Sumireko. Why I like this first story so much is because, one, it's not technically over, so let's be clear about that. It obviously does seem like this is going to be an ongoing theme for Sumireko, is that she is dealing with, yes, pretty much a midlife crisis. Let's just say that she's already having her midlife crisis. She has a very relatable story. Let's be truthful, and I think this is kind of something that can happen for a lot of people, even if you're like in your early teens or you're just turning 20. There is this sense of sort of leaving behind your youth and your inspiration, the things that people want from you, and that's really what Sumireko is facing. It's really well put into the second episode. When the second episode first opens up, there is a lot of emphasis about her struggling with her work. She has her novel work that she's doing. Yes, she even fully acknowledges for herself that she has lost inspiration, but it's also an aspect of what she's writing is no longer appealing to editors and publishers. So she's writing stuff, but they're rejecting it. And the sense that you get from that beginning segment is really that she's kind of putting this stuff out there when she was younger, and they're going, holy crap, there's so much energy in this, it's so great. And then when it cuts to her older self, that's when they get to going, well, this is something that's just not going to work, there's too many holes in this is just kind of boring, there's too much emphasis here, this feels a little contrived. There's all these difficulties that she's facing now that she's older. And so, yes, technically with the first episode as well, is that fear of like, now I'm 28. And she doesn't like that. She's getting older and she desires to be youthful again. And yes, when she does get that opportunity, suddenly everything starts flowing and she's excited about it. And I like how they emphasize that idea of, yeah, with most people, when you're watching the first episode, you're like, well, why would she want to turn small again? She's going to die. That's really the mindset that she has, is that her life is coming to an end because she's 28 now, and because she's lost all that inspiration. And yes, the thing that she desires so much, which is to write, is suddenly no longer working. So it's pretty cool to actually have not just this mystery series with the horrors that come with it and what its effect is on her, and that she could possibly die, and figuring out what has caused this and trap it or stop it. But it's also telling a story within there of a character's turmoil, what she's struggling with and what she's going through. And yes, it seems like this is something that's going to be an ongoing thing as we go into the second episode, and she's given the opportunity to go to this high school. She's all for it. I can hang out with all these girls, I can get that juicy gossip, and I can write a story based on that. Oh, these two girls are over here, and one of them straighten up the other one's ribbon. Oh gosh, I gotta look at this because this could be like a Yuri shoujo thing that I could write. I'm so into this. I need to watch more of this. So it's kind of causing this inspiration for her. And so I think that's going to be probably an ongoing thing for her. She's the novelist that's looking for inspiration. And yes, technically doing these mysteries, and yes, seeing other people and being around people younger than herself could give her that inspiration. Rin himself is so far pretty much a mystery, along with the mystery of the show itself. Rin seems to be somebody, again, that can see these curiosities, these oddities from another world that has come over. And it seems like his whole point is to find these things, capture them, and then seemingly offer them up to this train station so that he can gain tickets. Now, he was able to get one ticket for this one curiosity that he got from Sumireko, but it doesn't seem like it was something that he wanted. Now, this could be because he wants to keep the book, because it's a series of poems that can do multiple different things. What Sumireko used was essentially the ability to become youthful again. There's other ones like, yes, being able to bring back the dead. So maybe he's like feeling that it's not enough, or that it's something that he could use as a tool to get other curiosities. Or it could be that he wanted it for Sumireko. But again, Sumireko has become cursed, so she can do it by herself, seemingly. But I'll be curious to see what else is up with his story. It doesn't seem like he is actually Oto's sibling. It could be, but it seems to imply that Oto is somebody that is spirited away from another world to our world, and he's looking for a ticket or enough tickets to be able to send her back. So it could be that Rin and Oto are from another world, they're spirited to here, and they're looking to get enough tickets to go back, or maybe a ticket to go to a specific place. Maybe he doesn't want to go to Yami Station. A lot of that stuff is kind of a question mark for now, and I'm curious when we'll kind of start revealing that stuff. Oto herself so far seems okay, and again, I think so far she's just an extension of Rin, that she is possibly a spirited to this place. And it seems like Rin's having her go to the school just to kind of have a place to still kind of study until she's able to go back. And then yes, the last person that we've introduced so far is Minami, the teacher. The teacher so far was a little bit of a klutz. She's a little bit of a goofball. But yeah, she was the teacher in the school where she keeps thinking that Sumireko is being bullied. So she kind of rushed her off to the side, asked her what her dreams are. And Minami, the teacher, basically says that her dream is to essentially help students by supporting their dreams. And then she started licking the ground and everybody started spitting up saliva. Spoiler. I don't know, where Minami starts licking the ground in a suggestive way and then everybody starts spitting up drool and falling over. That's weird. By the way, that's weird. But again, that goes back into what I was saying earlier. I love this show is so kind of weird and creepy and eerie and dark and yes, mature in a way. Like, the fact that this teacher is literally licking the ground like she's licking something lewd. She's licking the ground and suddenly all these students fall over spitting up saliva, and that's the wrap up of the episode. I'm like, give me more, please, just give me more. I love how just unfiltered the show is. Yes, some people find it a little bit unpleasant with how much emphasis it is on Sumireko and her chest kind of just being out there, how big she is, her constantly running around in her underwear, trying to get away from Rin. Or the fact that, yes, when she does read the book and she gets smaller, she's this little lolly that's running around everywhere and blood's coming out of her face. But I like it. I like just how weird the show is so far. That's the kind of, yeah, there's like a little bit of body horror in there. There's the goriness of it. And again, that kind of has me pretty excited for what's to come. Basically, if a show can show me that it's not going to filter things, I'm on board. Now, yes, it is technically filtering things because if you look at the manga, it shows more. It shows some dots. So, but for a TV broadcast, it's doing enough for me. Additionally, on top of that, I think so far the chemistry is pretty solid. Again, Ren is just kind of constantly making these suggestive and flirtatious comments to Sumireko. Sumireko is constantly like, yeah, whatever, kid, come back in 10 years. She's constantly kind of shooting him down. At the same time, she's got her own geekness to her and that she wants to get into things and get inspiration for her novels. Oto so far just kind of off the side being cute and, yes, jealous because she seems to like Ren and doesn't like, what does she call Sumireko, a apartment wife? Call her like a lazy apartment wife? It's got some funny little jabs in there as well. So there's a good mix of chemistry and not overly done comedy to kind of keep it entertaining as it goes step by step. But yeah, that's all to say. I'm super on board with the show. I love the feel of it. I love how dark it is. I love how mature it is. I love how it's not apologetic. It has all the signs to just not hold things back and just get horror in there. Get some mystery in there. And yes, while I will admit that I'm missing a lot of the context to a lot of the urban legends and the poetry and whatnot, I think it's enough. And again, not going too far that I'm getting lost. So I'm all for more of this series. I'm really enjoying it. It's going up there as one of my favorite of the season so far that I'm looking forward to each week. But that's my thoughts on Mysterious Disappearance. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure that like button down below, comment. Let me know what you think of the series or if you're going to be checking it out. Additionally, if you're new to the channel, make sure that subscribe button to get my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top list. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you like this content and you want to support the channel more, I have Patreon link, tips link, super links, membership button down below. Really appreciate it if it does. Y'all take care.